3 bone-chilling true stories. What happened on my first day at work will haunt you forever. As the clock struck 9, the old office maintained an eerie stillness that seemed to breathe with the weight of its secrets. Lurking corners chased shadows that danced unsettlingly in the dim light, casting foreboding hints about what lay ahead for the new hire. Little did I know, this place held stories that would coil around my mind, squeezing tighter with every revelation. A broken overhead light flickered ominously, struggling to maintain a grasp on its duty, and the air grew suffocatingly thick with an unsettling dread that I entered, heart pounding like a frantic drum. The lifeless cubicles stood in silent witness, papers cluttering desks like the remnants of forgotten dreams. Across from me, a thick glass wall displayed a small, chilling framed photo of a former employee. Rumors whispered through the hall, claiming he vanished without a trace one fateful Thursday. I shivered at the thought. What happened to him? And who took that haunting picture? His eyes seemed to follow me as I navigated through the maze of cold metal. Every strange sound echoed with an anxious urgency, sending prickles down my spine. A creaking door broke the silence, a reminder of what lurked within these walls. Was it just the wind? Or was something more sinister afoot? Each breath tasted like anxiety as I wondered. Was I alone in this place? Staff exchanged suspicious glances, and a constant undercurrent of murmur hinted at truths best left unspoken. You could feel it. The onset of fear gripped everyone tightly. I caught a glimpse of a woman staring blankly at her screen, tears running silently down her face. What tragedy had she seen? Hey, before we continue with this amazing story, I need to give you an important heads up. Many subscribers have reported that YouTube unsubscribed them without warning. Take a quick second to check the red button below to make sure you're still subscribed to the channel. I'd hate for you to miss any of the exclusive content coming soon, and while you're there, smash that like button. It really helps me out with the algorithm. Oh, and tell me in the comments, which city are you watching from? I love getting to know every amazing person who's part of this community. Your participation makes all the difference. Let's connect. Just as I thought I de-acclimated to the malignant atmosphere, a slam echoed in the hallway, shattering the silence like glass. My heart skipped, my palm clammy as I glanced toward the source. The office lights flickered again, casting quick shadows, and a cold rush trickled down my back. It was then I heard a soft whisper, barely discernible, creeping into my ear, laced with sadness and despair. Get out. The words seemed to wrap around my consciousness, choking me with a primal urge to flee. Who spoke? What did it want from me? As I stumbled back, the air around me thickened, suffocating, heavy with something I couldn't name. And in that moment of absolute terror, beneath the layer of dread cloaking this haunting workplace, a thrum of curiosity simmered. What other secrets hid in this chilling place? What happened to those who dared stay longer than a day? A chill swept through as my mind wandered deeper into unanswered questions, an irresistible pull to unveil the truth held captive within the shadows. The office plunged deeper into darkness, the flickering lights casting an erratic rhythm of shadows that played tricks on my mind. My heart raced, beating wildly against my ribcage, threatening to break free. The whispered command lingered in my ears, growing louder, more insistent. Get out. Every instinct screamed at me to flee, to abandon this suffocating space. Yet a stubborn defiance anchored me in place. I scanned the room, searching for the source of the whisper. Employees moved mechanically, eyes glued to screens, unaware or perhaps willfully ignorant of the looming dread surrounding us all. A chill wrapped around my neck, like fingers tightening around a throat. I needed to know what had happened here. Stepping cautiously, I made my way toward the break room. A flickering light overhead buzzed angrily, casting an angry glow over a space that reeked of stale coffee and something more sinister. Plates were left scattered, abandoned like the remnants of a hurried escape. A single chair scraped the floor behind me, and I jerked around to see a figure emerging from the shadows. That it was the woman from earlier, still teary-eyed, but this time, an anger simmered beneath her tears. You shouldn't be here, she said, her voice barely above a whisper, but it crackled with urgency. She glanced toward the exit, as if the very walls were eavesdropping on our conversation. They notice you. They 1T let you leave. Who? I asked, my voice wavering. My throat tightened, and I felt the full weight of her despair. Her eyes darted around the room. Listen, it's not just a job, she continued, panic glimmering in her gaze. There are things lurking here, things that keep us trapped. You've got to leave while you still can. Before it's too late. Before I could respond, a shadow loomed over us, dark and heavy. I straightened, heart pounding, to see a manager whose mouth was set in a hard line, watching us with cold, unblinking eyes. The room seemed to stifle, and my adrenaline spiked. The woman recoiled, trembling as she fell silent. Is everything all right here? The manager asked, his voice dripping with a sickly sweetness that felt like acid in my stomach. The air around us pulsed with tension, a trap ready to snap. I felt the hairs on my arms rise as he scrutinized us, his gaze piercing. Yes, I stammered, moving instinctively closer to the trembling woman beside me. We were just what? He interrupted, leaning closer until I could smell the stale odor of his cologne mingled with something rotten. I was just leaving, I blurted out, clutching the door handle behind me. Good choice, he hissed, taking a step back as I stepped through the door. A flicker of something sinister crossed his face, and I was suddenly aware that I was part of a game I didn't understand. The weight of unseen eyes bore down on me as I turned to leave, but as I turned to make my escape, I caught the woman's gaze for a brief moment. Don't forget us, she mouthed, desperation echoing in her eyes that I hesitated, the air thickening with dread. I was just a few steps from freedom, yet uncertainty gripped my mind like a vice. I could leave, but what about her? What about the others? Would I become just another whispered memory in this haunted place? With every nerve on high alert, I took a deep breath, ready to choose between my own safety and confronting the darkness that plagued this office. My heart raced as I pushed the door further open, knowing whatever lay behind it was just as terrifying as what I was leaving behind. And then a chilling thought struck me. What if leaving wasn't the end, but the beginning of something far more horrifying? With that lingering uncertainty clawing at my gut, I stepped forward, my resolve wavering as curiosity gnawed at me relentlessly. Had I truly escaped, or was I only just stepping into an even deeper nightmare? The hallway stretched before me, dimly lit and eerily silent, as if it held its breath in anticipation. I could still feel the weight of the woman's plea, echoing in my mind like a siren's call. Don't forget us, the words hung in the air, clawing at my conscience. In that moment I realized leaving wouldn't be simple. My heart pounded harder, a frantic drumbeat urging me to turn back, to help. My legs carried me forward against my will, but my mind screamed for a second chance. I glanced down the corridor, the stark fluorescent lights flickering ominously overhead. Each pulse seemed to dim with wicked intent. Sweat beaded on my forehead, and I wiped it away with the back of my hand. A horrific thought struck me. The lights were dwindling not just from flickering bulbs but because something was blocking them through the haze of doubt. I saw movement at the far end of the hall, dark shapes congregating near the stairwell. Shadows shifted, blurred together in a swirling mass of uncertainty. My gut twisted painfully as I focused on those figures, feeling an overwhelming urge to back away. But then I remembered the woman's face, fear etched in every line. It sparked something deep within me, igniting a flicker of courage. I had to find out what was happening, what lay beyond those shadows. I stepped closer, heart hammering in my chest. As I approached, the figures started to materialize, dehydrated faces, slack jaws, and eyes that glistened with a hollow longing. They weren't just shadows. They were the husks of lost souls, trapped in a never-ending state of despair. I felt a jolt in my chest as recognition surged through me. They were like the woman, lost and haunted. Help us, a voice rasped, the sound almost a whisper, yet it tore through the air like a scream. It echoed in my mind, resonating with the part of me that wanted to flee and the part that wanted to reach out to make a difference. My breath quickened as I stepped further into the gathering fog of despair. What happened to you? I croaked, my voice barely above a whisper. They shifted, the collective weight of their collective sorrow hitting me like a wave. We can't leave. Not unless the voice trailed off, and I could feel the ominous weight of secrets that hung heavily in the air. Unless what? I pressed, desperation creeping into my voice. Unless the manager is stopped, the group said in unison, their vacant eyes boring into mine with an urgent plea. He holds the key, we're trapped in here because of him. The realization crashed down on me like a thunderclap. My mind raced. The manager wasn't just a figure of authority. He was the puppet master lurking in this twisted game. Could I confront him? Or would that mean putting myself at risk? The figures urged me on, their expressions morphing from ghostly wails to fierce determinations. You have to act. Before he knows you're still here, before it's too late. I felt my pulse quicken, and the thrumming of the air intensified around me. I understood then that I stood at a fork in the road, freedom at one end, madness at the other, and I had to make a choice. Was I brave enough to risk everything to save them? Or will I vanish into the shadows like countless others, forever consumed by this place? With the weight of fear anchoring me down, I turned toward the office, eyes set on the manager, ready to confront whatever hell awaited me within. What dark truth would I uncover? Would I be the one to end this twisted nightmare? Or was my fate already sealed in darkness? The office door loomed before me, a heavy barrier between the realm of the damned and my uncertain fate. I hesitated for just a heartbeat, my instincts screaming that I was stepping into a den of horrors. The dim light flickered, casting sporadic shadows across the faded nameplate. Manager! It felt almost like a warning, an embodiment of everything I feared. With a sudden burst of resolve, I pushed the door open. It creaked, echoing through the silence like a warning bell. The room was dark, the faint light only revealing an expanse of wooden furniture shrouded in dust. The air was thick with distrust and unfulfilled promises. I took a cautious step inside, every nerve in my body wired for tension. The manager sat behind the desk, his silhouette barely discernible. He looked up and our eyes met. His were devoid of warmth, like cold steel in the night. You shouldn't be here, he said, his voice smooth yet edged with something sinister. This isn't a place for the living. Let them go, I urged, the words spilling out of me like a desperate plea. They're trapped. You're the one holding them here. He leaned back, a slow, calculating smile creeping across his face. Trapped? They are here because they want to be. Each of them made their choices. You don't truly think they're innocent, do you? My stomach churned. The shadows behind him flickered, and I caught fleeting glimpses of the figures I had just seen, their faces twisted in agony. What do you mean? I demanded, the question clawing its way out of me. What choices? Choices, he mused, stretching the word out like it was something sacred. Every soul that enters this place bears the weight of its past. Some never want to leave. They find comfort in the darkness. Others crave redemption but fear the light. He tilted his head slightly, eyes narrowing. They're not the only ones trapped here, you know. A chill ran down my spine. I was teetering on the edge of an abyss, and he was pulling me deeper, unraveling threads I barely understood. What do you mean? I pressed again, my voice trembling despite my resolve. His smile widened. It's a cycle, really. The longer they stay, the stronger the bond becomes. They become a part of this place, just like you will. His gaze darkened, and the air around me thickened with dread that I felt my throat constrict. No, I won't be like them. But you already are. He mocked, a low chuckle rolling from his lips. Each moment you hesitate, each breath you take within these walls, it entwines you deeper into this twisted fate. A whisper of panic began to creep in. Had I come here to help them, or to join them? Sweat trickled down my back as I realized my fight wasn't just to save those souls, but to save myself as well. Suddenly, an ear-splitting shriek echoed from the hallway, a chorus of anguish mixed with desperate cries. It rattled the walls and sent a fresh wave of adrenaline surging through me. You must act. The voices of the trapped souls cried out once more. He's manipulating you. The manager straightened, glaring at the door as if the sounds could violate his cocoon of control. His expression soured, darkening like a storm cloud. Enough of this. You have no idea what you're playing with. As he spoke, the shadows began to coalesce around him, shifting, flickering with potential chaos. They were feeding off his anger, growing darker, and threatening to swallow me whole. Was this my moment to confront him, to fight for the souls bound by his manipulation? I took a step back, my mind racing. Was I diving into madness? Or was this the time to break the cycle? The choice was mine to make, but with every heartbeat, the pull of the darkness grew stronger. Would I find the strength to confront the source of evil, or would I surrender myself to its depths? Would I emerge a hero or a victim? My heart thudded as I stood at the brink, one decision away from light or darkness. What terrifying revelation awaited me? And could I withstand the battle that loomed just ahead? A heaviness pressed down on me, like weighted chains wrapping around my limbs. The shadows whispered secrets, their voices both alluring and repulsive. The manager leaned forward, the smile on his face morphing into something predatory. You'd be wise to turn back, he warned, his voice a low growl dripping with malice. You have no idea what lies ahead or within. Every instinct urged me to flee, but the cries of the souls echoed in my ears. They needed me, and fleeing felt like betraying them. No, I shouted, finding strength in desperation. I want to ignore them. I want to let you take me. As I lunged forward, the shadows swirled violently around the manager, convulsing like living beings roused from slumber. Their tendrils lashed out, brushing against my skin like icy fingers. A wave of nausea crashed over me, and I staggered but kept pressing on. Foolish girl, he spat, rising from his chair. His figure expanded, pushing the shadows outward, creating a barrier I had no power to breach. You think they want you to save them? They want to see you suffer just like they did. I gritted my teeth against the pain of his words. In that moment, I felt the now familiar chill of doubt. Was he right? Did they relish in my fear? But alongside that chill flickered a fragile flame of hope that perhaps I wasn't alone in my struggle against his twisted web. Get out now, I screamed to the trapped souls. Fight him. Remember who you are. You deserve more than this. For an agonizing moment, silence reigned. But then, like a spark igniting kindling, a flicker of movement broke the stillness. It started with a whisper, growing into a cacophony of protest. The souls around the room began to respond, their energy swirling together, a symphony of defiance against the darkness. The manager snarled, every line of his face contorting with fury. You're awakening their false hope, he bellowed. They'll pay for this betrayal. His hands twisted in the air, and the shadows surged forward, tendrils launching at me with the ferocity of a predator. I dodged to the side, heart pounding. You want to take them. Not now. The resistance surged within me, driving out the fears he had sown into my mind. I pushed back against the chaos, summoning the strength of every soul who'd been trapped. I could feel their pain, their rage. It fueled me. With a roar that echoed in the corners of the room, I reached out, extended my hand, and concentrated on the warmth of light. A burst of energy exploded from my fingertips, roaring like a flame igniting dry wood. The darkness recoiled, momentarily taken aback. What is this? The manager spat through gritted teeth, fear flashing across his cold, steely gaze. Hope rose like a phoenix in my chest. This is the power of those you've oppressed. They're fighting back. The air crackled with tension as I felt a shift, an undeniable change in energy. The souls were rising. They were stirring from their conforming gloom, and I could see their faces now, expressions of desire and resolve. But as their energy rose, so did the manager's wrath. This isn't over, he yelled, his face contorting into a mask of rage as the shadows writhed. I took a deep breath. I had to be strong, had to stand my ground. But as I prepared for the next move, I couldn't shake the feeling that something far more sinister lurked within the depths of his being. If I pushed further, what would happen? The weight of the moment pressed down on me. A tangible sense of foreboding. Was his darkness deeper than I could fathom? With every heartbeat, the room trembled as darkness clashed with the light I had summoned. What terrible price would I pay next? And could I truly save the souls without losing myself? The battle wasn't just for their freedom, it was for my very essence. Would I fall into the abyss, or seize that flicker of light once and for all? I focused all my energy, a white-hot determination coursing through me, as I faced the shadows now writhing like serpents at the manager's command. They reached for me with desperation, but I wouldn't let cowardice seep in. Fear clawed at my throat, but I pushed it down, summoning every ounce of light and will I possessed as I held my ground. The swirling darkness seemed to vibrate with a life of its own, intensifying in response to my defiance. For a moment I felt invincible. The cries of the souls filled the air with a melody of hope, harmonizing with the roaring light I had unleashed. It was beautiful and terrifying all at once. But then, the manager unleashed a twisted grin of vindictive pleasure. "You have no idea what you're awakening," he hissed, and with a sharp flick of his wrist, 100 tendrils surged at me, coiling around my arms, squeezing with a force that threatened to crush my very spirit. "Let them go," I screamed, every muscle in my body strained against the pressure. I felt the weight of despair trying to swallow me whole. I could sense the despair of the souls within them, their fear feeding into my own. Suddenly, the voices turned cacophonous, each soul calling out as if trying to pierce the veil of darkness. "Remember your light. Remember us," they urged, and I felt it, an energy building within me, stronger than the shadows. A memory flickered in my mind of my own struggles. The weight of the world pressed on my shoulders. It was time to remember who I was. Drawing deep from my core, I summoned my light again. "We can fight this together," I screamed, driving the words into the heart of the chaos. The brightness erupted from my hands, expanding outward like a shockwave. The shadows screamed, their shrieks piercing through the chaos as they began to push back, rebelling against the control of the manager. "No," he roared, his face twisting into fury, eyes narrowing with pure rage. "You think you can save them? You think this is a game?" The tension in the room thickened, like a storm cloud ready to unleash its fury. I felt the souls rallying around me, their light intertwining with my own, pooling into a singular force that surged against the walls of darkness. But then the manager's laughter rang out, cold and unyielding. "You have no clue what you're unleashing," he taunted, a glint of madness flickering in his eyes. "They will not just be freed, they will be hungry." The darkness reacted violently, and the strings of shadow surged back toward the center, weaving through the air like a violent tempest. A sudden rush of wind pulled me in closer to him, the room spinning as if reality itself was bending. I fought against the gripping force but felt my essence slipping. The haunting whispers of the souls enveloped me, a tide of desperate pleas. "Do not give in. Stand strong." Their support wrapped around me like a protective embrace, bolstering my resolve. "I won't let you win," I shouted, channeling every shred of light I could muster into a radiant beam. It washed over everything, clashing with the darkness, illuminating the room in brilliant hues of hope and fear. But then came the hissing sound that sent shivers down my spine. A shape flickered from the depths of the shadows, emerging with more power than any I had faced. It was not just the manager anymore. As darkness spread, tendrils pulled back, revealing a figure wreathed in shadow, eyes glowing like coals in the night. A new threat materialized, and this one carried the weight of 1,000 tormented souls. I froze. What have I awakened? I thought, heart racing. This was a tide I had not anticipated. The battle for their souls was evolving, becoming something I wasn't prepared for. In that instant, I realized the war I had ignited was only just beginning, spiraling far beyond what I could control. The darkness laughed, a low and rumbling sound, as I dared to inch closer to what I had summoned. What terrible truth awaited me in the depths? Would my light truly prevail, or would I simply become another lost soul in the chaos? The shadows coiled around me, pulsing with malevolence, and my pulse quickened. The air thickened, saturating with the stench of fear and rage. The entity before me loomed larger, its outline flickering like a candle in a storm, and something deep inside a primal instinct whispered to flee. Yet, I stood rooted, mind racing, desperate for an answer. Do you not see what is at play? The manager sneered, the shadows writhing in delight at his words. You have set them free, but freedom comes with a cost. The light you wield attracts their hunger. With every breath, I felt the weight of 1,000 eyes boring into my soul. The freed souls behind me shimmered dangerously against the dark tide, their whispers growing frantic, a dissonant choir of dread. I could feel their hunger, too, a sharp sting at the edges of my mind. Stand together, I shouted, raising my hands higher, a beacon amidst the gathering storm. My light flared, bright and compelling, pushing back against the encroaching shadows. For all their fury, I believed we could resist. Remember why you are here. We fight for each other, not against one another. But the dark entity only laughed, its voice like ice scraping against stone. You misunderstand. They are bound to follow you, yearning to break free, yes. But once they do, they will not follow your light, they will feast. Chills ran through me, the prospect of the souls crashing against my light, devouring everything in their path, chilled me to the bone. I struggled to maintain my focus, locking my gaze on the twisted figure before me. Come now, it mocked, eyes glistening. Join us. You have awakened a hunger that is insatiable. A surge of anger propelled me forward, instinctively raising my arms. The light exploded in a radiant arc, illuminating the shadows, splintering their classic forms into tendrils of mere darkness. They hissed, retreating like cockroaches from a flame, but the entity it stood firm, absorbing the light like a sponge, eyes widening in anticipation. No, I gasped, heart racing. I won't let you have them. I won't let them become monsters. The thrumming energy of the souls behind me shifted, vacillating in unease. Their essence clashed with mine, drawing upon each other as strength but also fraying at the seams beneath the weight of the darkness. I felt the tension dangerous and chaotic, and my heart sank. What if they couldn't resist the pull of their hunger? Give in. The entity beckoned, flicking its shadowy wrist as if casting a spell. Tendrils of darkness surged forward again, wrapping around my light, squeezing with overwhelming force. You can save yourself, understand your power, and dominate what you could unleash. In that moment, I glimpsed flashes of those souls. Confused faces twisted by fear, once clear paths now overshadowed by their yearning. One soul flinched at the edge of my light, its face contorted in agony, caught between two worlds. Would I abandon them? The darkness questioned my every instinct, gnawing at my resolve. It was the very definition of power, cruel but seductive, promising survival at the cost of my light. That I had to act. I pushed forward, channeling every ounce of love and flickering memory of who those souls had been before they sunk into the shadows. We are not monsters, I roared, even as the tendrils lashed out. But just as I thought the tides were shifting, the entity erupted with a howl, a furious tempest of fury and shadows. It lunged for me, darkness creating an all-consuming maelstrom around us. I could feel my light struggling against the clutches of despair, threatening to falter. Then I saw it, a flicker of movement in the darkness. The manager, no longer smiling, was visibly shaken. Runa, he yelled, voice splintering. You've done the impossible. What did he mean? What had I truly awakened? I took a step back, my heart pounding in my chest, grappling with the weight of an impending choice that could break my resolve and change everything. What terrible twist lay ahead? And was it too late to turn back now? The shadows writhed, growing denser and pulsating with an ominous rhythm that resonated through my bones. I could feel the pressure build, like water behind a dam ready to burst. Runa, the manager's voice cut through the chaos, panic laced in his tone. You need to harness the light. Don't just fight. You must become one with it. I hesitated, disbelief flooding my thoughts. How could I possibly merge with a light that felt like my lifeline, my only shield against the creeping darkness? As I stood there staggering, I felt the more chaotic energy of the souls behind me, flickering back and forth in wild trepidation. Their ethereal forms shimmered dimly, reflecting my own uncertainty. A sudden oppressive silence fell, shattering my focus. The entity halted, its misty form hovering inches from my face, eyes of midnight boring into my soul. "Join us, Runa," it hissed, each word dripping with seduction. "All power is yours. Just let them go." Unbearable anguish twisted at my gut. What if I lost them for good? But even the thought of leaving them behind felt like betrayal. "No!" I screamed, clenching my hands, trying to push back the darkness engulfing me. "I won't abandon them. We're stronger together." The words felt fragile against the tide of despair. In that moment, I caught a glimpse of the frayed edges of the soul's light eventually. They could snap. With a voice that wavered but always found strength, I called out, "Remember who you are. You are not lost. We can find our way." Their flickering grew erratic, and I could feel the push-pull of their energy, tantalizing but terrifying at the same time. Tendrils of shadow lashed out again, hungry to reclaim the souls that dared resist. They curled around me, each tendril sinking deeper into my spirit, trying to stamp out the light within. "Yield!" the dark entity screamed, and with each syllable, the shadows surged violently forward. "You're doomed to fall. Embrace the darkness, it's your only salvation." My heart raced, every beat echoing the struggle inside me. But then, amidst the chaos, I felt a warm surge, pushing through my fear. A memory bubbled to the surface, faces filled with love, laughter that echoed in a world where light still existed. Baba's smile, Sophia's joyous laugh. I called upon that love to fuel my light. "Fight!" I yelled, channeling every bit of hope, every cherished moment. "We are not defined by our darkness, but by the light we carry. Stand with me." The souls shuddered, their ethereal forms brightening, cascading like gently draped lights. I felt an intense warmth as they connected with mine, pulsing like a heartbeat that synchronized with mine. The darkness shrieked, tendrils retreating momentarily, as if threatened by our unity. But it wasn't enough. The shadows twisted angrily, restructuring themselves, becoming something grotesque and monstrous. They lunged once more, determined to tear through our fragile defense. I strained against their surge, fighting back as I grappled to maintain my channel to the light. "Together," I shouted, "pour your energy into mine." They hesitated for a heartbeat, uncertainty drawing thin lines across their spectral faces. But the primal hunger clawed at them from behind. It was feeding on their hesitation. Despair wrapped around us once more, drawing tighter. Suddenly, one of the souls, a young woman whose face I vaguely recognized, stepped forward, her form shimmering with an otherworldly glow. I can't hold it any longer," she cried, and her light faltered as the darkness pulsed hungrily. "Don't let go," I screamed, but it felt too late. The shadows surged forward, a wave of restless fury, and with it, a deafening silence fell again as all of our lights flickered in peril. Did I end that fleeting moment caught between fury and fear? I realized the entity was merely the cruel reflection of my own doubt and failing faith. Yet, something deeper stirred within me. A choice waited just beyond the darkness. But would I be strong enough to confront it now? As the darkness lunged and my heart pounded, the light began to dim. I stood on the precipice of a desperate decision, knowing that time was slipping through my fingers like sand. The choice was mine, but the consequences, could I bear them if I failed? What was lurking just beyond the shadows might change everything. Forever. The shadows thickened, wrapping around me like cold tendrils, squeezing tighter. My heart slammed against my ribcage, the pulse quickening with every beat as adrenaline flooded my veins. The woman's light flickered dangerously, and I could feel her fear. What could I offer that would save us all? "Hold on. Just one more moment," I urged, even as my voice trembled. The encroaching darkness trembled along with me, whispering my doubts back. "Runa," the entity hissed, its voice threading itself into my mind. "Embrace me, surrender, and we will be unstoppable." I wavered, the promise of immense power swelling in my chest. It was tempting, too tempting. The darkness plucked at my fragility, wanting me to falter. I felt my breath catch. I was teetering on the brink of despair, risking everything to save those souls. Then I saw them. The souls I fought for, their features etched in desperation, shadows of hope seeming to glow around them despite the creeping gloom. Their eyes reflected back echoes of determination. I wasn't alone. No, we must fight, I cried, gathering every ounce of strength, every flicker of light I had left inside me. This is our life. We can't let it be snuffed out. My words ignited a surge of energy, a flickering spark in the dark tunnel of despair. The young woman stepped closer, her light recalibrating, a cascade of energy illuminating her form. I won't let you go, she whispered, a promise that knitted hope into my heart. With renewed vigor, I threw my arms wide. Unite with me, I yelled, desperate for connection. Let your light intertwine with mine, fueled by love, fueled by everything we are. The faint lights around me surged forward, merging into a swirling vortex of brilliance, each one brightening the darkness a little more. I could feel their warmth against the cold sting of shadows, their energy wrapping around me, pulsed in sync, a chain of resilience. But the darkness howled, thrashing around our fragile unity. It coiled like a great serpent, attempting to snap our connection. I gasped as tendrils lashed out, sharp and unyielding, trying to tear us apart. Together, I screamed, summoning the strength that pulsed through my veins. We are more than our fears. The light surged again, creating flashes that cut through the suffocating gloom. But I could feel the weight of despair threatening to crack our resolve. The energy of the souls behind me dimmed, wavering. I couldn't let that happen. Remember why you are here, I shouted, pulling at the deepest memories of laughter and warmth. Fight for your joy. Fight for each other. In that moment, I felt the shift, the flicker of hope evolving into something vast, something stronger than fear. The shadows writhed, sensing the powerful bond forming. They screeched, a sound that sent shivers down my spine, desperate to reclaim what they thought was theirs. But we stood united, encased in a brilliant halo of our combined light. It spread across the room, a protective shield battling the onslaught. My heart felt lighter, as if we transcended the darkness together, becoming more than just souls trapped in shadows. And then I felt an anchor of energy solidifying in my chest. The darkness pushed harder, but beneath the weight of despair was a glimmer of hope, a bright beacon whispering, "You are stronger than they know." But even as I began to believe it, the shadows roared louder, thrashing against our collective will. Their hunger felt like an avalanche. I was not just fighting for myself anymore. I was fighting for all of us. Suddenly, a chilling realization gripped me like ice. What if breaking through was more dangerous than I anticipated? What lay beyond this chaos? The shadows halted, pulsing uncertainly, as if they sensed the shift in dynamics. Could this be the moment I'd been waiting for? Or was it a trap, one that would lead us all to ruin? In that critical heartbeat, I realized the choice wasn't just about light against dark, it was about facing the unknown that awaited us beyond this battle. My throat tightened. What could emerge from the depths if we succeeded? The air crackled with tension, and I knew we were on the cusp of something monumental and terrifying. Would I be ready for whatever came next? In that suffocating moment, the air crackled with an electric tension. The shadows roared, their monstrous forms thrashing violently against the encircling light that had now become our lifeline. I took a deep breath, focusing on the warmth radiating from the souls around me. Their fierce determination was a balm against the whipping despair. Together, I shouted again, as much for myself as for them. We can do this. With everyone's energy intertwined, I felt a hum of connection, a chorus of hope resonating through the air. The darkness recoiled momentarily, sensing the sheer force of our unity. Tendrils lunged, but with a swift motion, we pooled our light, pushing back against the tide of malice that threatened to engulf us. Each flicker of our brightness magnified, weaving a tapestry of resilience that pulsed against the encroaching darkness. Remember who you are, I cried into the chaos, feeling like a beacon against the storm. You are not just lost souls, you have power. You have lives still to lead, loves to find, and stories to tell. And then, as if on cue, the shadows shrieked, their endless hunger morphing into something more chaotic. They twisted and turned, the very fabric of darkness unraveling around the dark entity, once powerful but now faltering in the face of our united front. No, it howled, its monstrous figure contorting in fury. You think this will save you? You are too late. But in that moment we were more than just beings trapped in despair. We were a collective spirit, awakening from a long slumber. I could feel the essence of the woman who had warned me earlier vibrating within me, her resolve intertwining with mine, her fear morphing into courage. Now, I urged the souls, my voice breaking through the noise. Channel everything you have into this light. Let it pierce through the darkness. With a surge of adrenaline, we pushed our hands forward, a powerful wave of luminescence erupting forth. The light expanded, a radiant sphere that held every fear, sorrow, and longing we carried, and released them into the swirling tempest that the entity had become. The darkness screeched, contorting into blurs of chaos. With each pulse of our united energies, it shrank back, flickering like a dying ember. Flickers of light began breaking through the quilt of shadows, illuminating faces that had long been hidden in anguish. The hotelier, the janitor, the forgotten souls, they materialized in splashes of color and identity, each a testament to the fight we collectively embraced. Then came the moment I had both feared and longed for. As the shadows dissolved, a blinding light erupted from our core, enveloping everything in a glorious brilliance. The entity writhed, the laughter morphing into cries of desperation. No, this cannot. And then, silence. The calm washed over me like a gentle tide after a storm, leaving me breathless and disoriented. The atmosphere shifted. The office that had once felt stifling and malevolent now felt liberating, as if the weight of years had been lifted. We stood together, all of the souls released from their torment, surrounding me with flickering presences that sparkled like stars. I'm free, the young woman whispered, disbelief in her tone. Tears streaked down her face, glistening with disbelief and relief. I turned slowly, every muscle still taut with tension. But the air had harmonized, resonating with something brighter. The manager's figure had vanished, consumed in the finality of our united stand. No longer a puppet master, but rather a specter of a past that no longer held sway. I won't forget you, I vowed, addressing the newfound voices in the room. You all deserve to tell your stories. I'll make sure of it. With that, the visions of those lost souls began to shift, their forms shimmering with energy, unraveling into the essence of all they had once loved. Each ghostly form flickered out, scattering like fireflies into the dawn, heading toward their long-awaited reunions with the light. As the last light dimmed into the ether, I found myself alone in the empty office once haunted, now clear. My heart pounded in my chest, but peace bloomed within, soothing the remnants of fear. Every lingering doubt melted away. I had faced the void and emerged victorious, but the moment was bittersweet. In that silence, I reflected on what had transpired, on the darkness and the light, on the fight for freedom. The journey that began with dread had birthed resilience, and I couldn't shake the sensation that the world beyond the office was waiting for me. Fresh starts, new stories, and echoes of laughter to fill empty spaces. Taking a deep breath, I stepped outside into the warm sunlight, ready to embrace whatever came next, knowing that I wasn't just a part of the story, but now an integral lead in the symphony of life. And for once, I felt the weight of weightlessness. Now the story is complete, but your voice matters too. You need to subscribe now to make sure you don't miss the next exclusive stories that are coming your way. Smash that like button now to support the algorithm and keep these gripping tales alive. Flood the comments section with your thoughts and theories about this ending. Let us connect. And don't wait even one more second to share this video with at least 5 friends who need to see this conclusion. Your support makes all the difference to the community.